Greetings and welcome to NWealth Conversation hosted here on NWealth Money TV. This is the home of great conversations, of course, regarding financial planning, which has and remains to be our belief that it contributes much to a better tomorrow. Now, my name is Japheth Otieno and welcome to today's conversation. We are asking the big question, are you prepared for retirement? And what is really preparing for retirement and what is retirement? For the purpose of responding to our questions, today I am very, very honored. Not saying that before I wasn't, but today I am a lucky man to bring to the show a great mind, a great tutor, a great teacher, a leadership teacher and trainer with great passion on transforming people's life, unlocking your potential as an individual. Of course, has been in the corporate space, practicing human resource, interacted with people pre and post-retirement. So she's coming to us with practical ideas, having advised and helped people successfully transit to retirement. Welcome to the show, Josephine. And maybe I give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Japheth. I think you have already introduced me, but just for clarity, I am Josephine Kimai, a leadership trainer, facilitator, and a coach, and I'm also a certified human resource professional. Just eager to just get into this conversation.
Great, and thank you. And maybe, Josephine, before we get into planning for retirement, somebody may be asking themselves, what is really retirement? Is it stopping to go to work somewhere? Is it migrating to the village? What is it in your perspective from what you have experienced?
So in my perspective, retirement is an interesting topic. When people are in formal employment and at some point they come to the end of that period of formal employment, and then that is what is called retirement. But what I have seen more and more of, and in the past, I believe the scenario would be that people would retire and then people would leave Nairobi or Mombasa or Kisumu and maybe move to the village. But today, the scene is really changing. People are getting to retirement age, where even if when they were in formal employment, you can't go beyond. So they get to that age, but then they're not really going back to the village. They're still around. So we have seen some changes in how retirement has been unfolding. Yeah.
So in the changing, and I know there's a way our forefathers retired, our fathers, and now we. If you are to assess the life we are living now, and somebody is, exiting retirement and they are now beginning the life, what is the description of an ideal retirement life for them?
Interesting. So for example, in the past, you would have our parents retiring from formal employment, and they would then be maybe going back to the village. They had a retirement package, so you would find that your father always had a check, or he would go to the bank on a particular day because his retirement benefits have come in, and he would use that to then help him navigate life at that point. But then we've even seen that retirement ages have moved, so they're shorter and shorter, and there are changes. And today you would find not everybody is going to the village. So then we have people who have retired, but they're still in Nairobi. But then life does not end with retirement. In fact, for many, it is actually beginning. So how we prepare for that and how we then navigate that is interesting. I have seen people actually at retirement start new jobs or new careers, get into consultancy and live very fulfilling lives at that point. And they're happy. And I've also seen people who are frustrated because they hadn't prepared mentally, they hadn't prepared financially, they hadn't prepared even in terms of, so what do I do now? And then you find people who are struggling, and they're struggling at could be what I would call a difficult phase of life because you're much older. You may be energetic, but in many cases, maybe not as much energy as you had in your 30s. So you'd find people would be struggling at that point. So I see two scenarios where I see people who have thought about it, people who have planned on it, people who have still even decided to continue working. Some of them have even decided to volunteer their services and are still active and are getting a lot of fulfillment out of what they're doing and really enjoying the golden years, the golden age, so to speak. And then you find that there are others who are struggling through that period. Yeah, so there are those different scenarios.
So in your experience, and for the few that you have interacted with, those who go home laughing and really happy, what are the key things that they went home with that gave them that happiness?
So I think the first thing I would point out is that they were mentally prepared to leave. So they had thought about life after what we call formal employment, and in their minds they knew exactly what they want to do. So they've thought the process through, they've decided what it is they want to do. And two, people who have gone and they're prepared. So probably they have relatively comfortable place to stay. They have a relatively good, they have a relatively steady source of income. It could be less than they were getting while they were in employment, but at least a steady source so that they know life can continue in a particular form. Then also they have a medical scheme that then allows them to get medical help as and when they need it. And in many cases at that particular age, you do tend to not necessarily need it more than before, but it is important to have it when you do need it. So I see that people who have thought these things through and have worked these things out are normally in a better place and navigate their golden age better, and also find that part of their life fulfilling. Yes. So you could even decide, I want to be a farmer, but you're not getting a shock. You had thought about it. You had started planning for it. You're ready for it. In your mind, you've made the transition. So you're not struggling through life. You are happy, you're comfortable, and you're thriving, as opposed to the person who hadn't thought about it and then they're in shock. And you'll find some people actually are in shock for quite some time and cannot start navigating. I remember the era where you would find people who've retired and nobody knows that they've actually retired. So they would go home and they're still waking up and they're still going to work. Only they get out, but they're doing other things and come back. So it takes some time for people to actually understand that the person has retired. So I really think the first part is the mental preparation, and then the people who've also prepared financially, mentally, psychologically, financially, are able to navigate a bit better.
Wow, I like that. And just speaking from where you have left financially, our forefathers used to receive checks and they go for 2,000 per month, at least my grandfather. And I know that was enough then. So then, is there an enough amount today?
Oh, Japheth, not just for retirement, but even for every other thing. Is there anything like enough? So I wouldn't say that there is a particular figure that you would say that there is enough. But then I think it is more looking at the lifestyle and deciding these are the things that are important for me, and then making sure that those basics are catered for. And that you can maintain a certain lifestyle, the lifestyle that you want to at that particular time. So especially like now, thinking that I can take care of my bills. If especially for example, if you don't have to pay rent. So rent may not be there, but then electricity, you can't buy electricity forever. But there are people who have put in place solar, for example, and they are better positioned. So what is water? What is electricity like? What are the basic needs for you like? What is your basic medical provision like. So it's basically looking to see, is that in place? And you see, there is no amount that you could say is right, because at different levels, people would need different figures. But it's just looking and seeing, this is my life. These are my basic needs. Am I able to meet these needs? And then also seeing, is there a way I am able to ensure I have resources coming in that can take care of that. So it's a retirement package, but then life is changing so much. Costs are really going up. So even looking to see, do I have an additional source? So yes, I have my retirement package, but do I have an additional source of revenue? Is there something I'm able to do that would bring me additional resources? So really navigating that and making sure that you're able to meet your basic needs, I think would be a good place. I wouldn't say that there is an exact figure, but it is important to have a consistent, a steady amount coming in to then meet the needs, because the needs are there and the needs are consistent.
On looking at what you need, looking at your bills, looking at what you're paying right now, and seeing if that is, sustainable when you exit retirement. Most people come to the conclusion that that may not be the case. So most of them resort to scale down. Is that one the right way to go, or is it that you want to look for alternative sources of income that you continue with the same lifestyle? What will be the practical thing to do?
So I think practically it does make sense to scale down. However, that could also be a choice issue. If you do have additional resources that are coming in, then you may not necessarily need to scale down. But then if you really look at it, for example, if I have been doing the right things, and maybe as I was working, I have invested in a home, for example, are you seeing that aspect in my retirement may not be there?
Yeah.
But if I did not invest in a home, then that means that while I'm retired,
Yes.
I need to be taking care of either paying rent or trying to come up with a permanent home, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that would still be an expense. But for example, if I had been maybe building or paying a mortgage while I was working, and I have finished, by the time I'm retiring, are you seeing those are resources I don't really need to have?
Yeah.
So certain things have gone down. Yeah, so there is the aspect of scaling down, but I feel that there are certain things that may not necessarily be a consistent expense at that particular time, but depending on the lifestyle that you have, there may be others that will be there. So I think it is, from my perspective, it's wise to sort of scale down and really look to what are the needs, what are not the needs, but then if you have also prepared well, you may be able to sustain your life without necessarily having to scale down. And that's why I come again to say, yes, a retirement package is good, but it's also important to start looking to see, are you looking at how you can continue to get additional resources? Yeah, so being wise about how you have planned for your retirement. Yeah. And also I believe in getting that additional resource. It could be money that is working for you, and you may not necessarily have to be actively doing something. The money could just be working for you and giving you dividends ever so often. But it could also be that you're doing something that may be bringing you money, but it's also keeping you actively engaged. It's keeping your mind active, it's keeping your body active, and it's giving you what the French would call a raison d'être, a reason for living. Yeah.
Wow. I like that. Is you either want to create additional source of income, or you want to block off things from your budget them that are eating much of your budget, like rent, car loan, all those, deal with them before retirement and all that. You brought something very important, and this is additional source of income. And we've seen most people starting business just after they exit, and they have been in employment all along. Do you think that is a sustainable thing for most of them, and have they been succeeding from the statistics that you've seen?
So I have seen quite a number of people do that. I've seen a few succeed, and then I've seen a whole lot of people take their hard-earned money and lose it on a business venture. I think a lot of it depends on how well they have prepared. Business, many times people may think business is easy to run, but it's not always easy to run. And just because you have money does not mean that your business will run well. Business needs to be, you need to prepare for business, you need to think through, you need to have the right training, you need to do business right. So people who've actually prepared, even by preparing themselves, like for example, now we have many people even going through entrepreneurship lessons where they really prepare themselves. They've really thought through their idea well, are able to do well. Sometimes people feel because they have money and because Japheth is doing chicken business, I can also just do chicken business. And they take in their hard-earned money of retirement and put it in there, and all of a sudden things are not working. So then they've lost all this money, and now they don't have formal employment. The cash they put in is gone. So if somebody is to go into business, I believe even that process itself needs to be very well thought through. They need to have prepared well. They need to have really sought, is there, what do I want to do? And is there a need that I am fulfilling? And sometimes we don't go through the process. And do I have a solid business plan? Have I looked at all the aspects? Have I realized that probably I will pump in and not be able to get money out for a period? So getting into business without having properly thought this through has its own challenges. And facing that at retirement can also have additional challenges because one, you were a busy person, you had a formal employment, then all of a sudden the formal employment is not there. Then all the money that you had, you have put it into a venture and nothing is coming out of it. So even psychologically, that can really be a huge setback. And then the business is not working, the money is not coming in, so that can really take not just financially, but it can take a toll emotionally and psychologically and mentally on the person who has retired. So I feel that if somebody is getting into business, it's important for that process to be well thought of, for the person to really take time and prepare, for them to have really done good research to find a need and really be working towards meeting a need and having looked at all the other dynamics of business to make sure that their venture is well thought through.
And maybe I wanted to just emphasize a little bit on that. I'm an old man going to begin a business. How do I identify a viable opportunity? I know you've talked about it, but you can just emphasize it looking at the age of this guy, at what they're looking to do, the risk that is likely to be there and all that.
So I like the aspect that you bring. So for example, if you're looking for a business, to start a business that requires you to be really super active, and you're doing it at retirement age, there already is a discordance there. So it's really thinking through. I personally like it when people get into what they're passionate about. So one, it's an area of passion, first of all. So you will not need to be pushed to do it. You like doing it. And then two, looking to see, can it bring you money? Yeah? Can you monetize that passion of yours? But before you even think of monetizing it, is there a need for it?
Yeah.
So really looking at things from that perspective helps, because then you will not just be driven by what other people are doing, but really being driven by what you are, one, passionate about. Two, is there a need for it? Three, is it something that you can then, do people want to pay you for it?
Yeah.
Because you may be passionate about something and you've not really seen how people are willing to pay you for it.
Yeah.
So for example, I love working with people. I love working with people. I love unlocking potential in people. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about the vast experience that I have had in leadership, in leading people, in leading teams. And I've also looked at where I was and seeing how I could even have done differently. Did I have someone to help me navigate certain phases of my life or certain roles that I had? And then asking myself, okay, so, and I've also gone to school and acquired knowledge that way too. So there's experience, there's the knowledge that you've acquired formally, and then the passion in terms of wanting to unlock people, and then looking at all that and asking myself, is there a need for my kind of experience? I'm also looking and seeing that there's the younger generation, and my generation is quickly getting out of the work scene, but I also see that we have a lot of skills that can be useful to the younger generation. So it's then asking myself, am I able to, because this is my passion, but is there a need for my passion? Is there a need for the Japheths of this world to benefit from what I have? Can I help coach Japheth to see other aspects of his life, to see what he's currently not seeing, to see how he can navigate and do even more? Can I help Japheth to see something that he's currently not seeing, and I coach him into becoming a better version of himself? And can I do that well enough for Japheth to pay me for it? Now, if there is that need, then I now need to realize that this is something I can do that would then bring me an additional source of income. Then how do I do it? Yes, so do I, because somebody may go and invest in a huge office and everything that is there in the office, I need to actually stop and ask myself, how can I do this? And how do I scale this so that I'm not taking my retirement benefits and putting them in a big office, yet I don't need all that to coach Japheth, for example. So it's really being practical to ask all these questions and see getting into a business that is viable, that is something that would actually bring in the resources, but above all, is it meeting a need that exists?
Wow. So you have the passion. Do people need your passion? Are they willing to pay for it?
Yeah.
I like that. So we appreciate you as well as a viewer for joining in and just plugging in to listen to all this conversation. Our hope is that you've taken your action items home. Are you young? You have time to decide and swing into action. You are getting there. All is not lost. She has given you the piece of advice on how to just handle that. And so we appreciate you. And we are asking, should you have anything that you want to inquire from Josephine, please remember to go to the comment section, drop us the question. You can DM us directly. We will be glad to respond to all your questions. We're in contact with Josephine and we can always seek how your questions will be responded to. Remember to like the video. Remember to share the information widely within and without your circle. So go to the sharing icon. Click on that, send it to your people. Let them also benefit from all this wisdom that we've had. Until we see you in the next episode as we continue on Money Conversation, God bless you.